Hey basketball guys, we have news. Let's go to more news from the Golden State Warriors, but before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your. The Warriors are losing 2-1 in the series to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the goal is to win today's game and continue with their chances of reaching the Western Finals. Star Steph is injured and will be out again for Game 4, but he has a chance of returning in Game 5 or 6, and this excites the fans, because the Warriors' chances with Curry are much greater. To reach Game 6, the Warriors need at least a win today or in Game 5. Stephen Curry is much better from his injury and will return to the Warriors soon. Golden State Warriors star Stephen Curry took a massive step towards returning in this series against the Timberwolves. Golden State Warriors star Stephen Curry sat on the bench and watched his squad blow a late lead against the Minnesota Timberwolves on Saturday night. There's no question he's itching to be out there to help the Dubs, and it appears that could happen soon. Steph went through a strenuous workout before Game 3 and looked good. About 90 minutes before tip on Saturday night, Golden State Warriors star Steph Curry went through a pretty strenuous workout on the team's practice court in the dungeons of Chase Center. It was the clearest initial step in what Curry hopes to be an expedited return from the hamstring strain that has come to define this second-round series against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Curry didn't push it to full speed, according to a team source. He's yet to burst or cut or test that left hamstring in a manner that'll deliver him and Rick Celebrini, the team's lead medical decision-maker, the true information they'll need on whether the hamstring is healed enough to return deeper in this series. But he went through a medium-speed shooting routine and rode the stationary bike. This was a notable advancement for Curry in his race against time. As Slater noted, the Warriors guard didn't do any specific basketball movements like cutting or changing direction. But he is moving around without any pain. That's huge. While hamstring strains can be tricky, Curry is recovering well. With the Dubs trailing 2-1, though, they need him back sooner rather than later. The veteran suffered the injury in Game 1, but the Warriors still managed to win. They've dropped the last two contests without their franchise cornerstone. Reports indicate Steph could return for Game 6, which doesn't take place until next Sunday, if the Dubs can stay alive, of course. On Wednesday, Golden State said it would reevaluate Curry in a week. Steph spoke on the injury on Thursday. "This is new, and from all that I'm learning about how quickly you can get back, there has to be a healing process," Curry said. "You can't accelerate it more than what it's telling you. So it'll be one of those, after a week, really reevaluating every day to understand when it's safe just to even think about playing, let alone how much can you push it." The Warriors will be looking to tie up this best-of-7 series on Monday at the Chase Center. Warriors look to take Game 4 versus Timberwolves to avoid 3-1. Let's talk about desperation, Dub Nation. The kind that makes your palms sweat, your heart race, and has you contemplating ritual sacrifices to the basketball gods. Because that's exactly where we are heading into Monday night's Game 4 against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Down 2-1 with Stephen Curry rocking designer baseball caps on the sideline, the Warriors find themselves in that special place where must-win feels like the understatement of the century. It's more like win or start planning fishing trips territory. Game details. Who? Golden State Warriors vs Minnesota Timberwolves. Timberwolves lead series, 2-1. When, Monday, May 12, 2025, 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Watch, ESPN. If Game 3 taught us anything, it's that Jimmy Butler and Jonathan Kuminga can be an absolutely devastating 1-2 punch when they're cooking. Butler dropped 33 points, his playoff high this year, while Kuminga exploded for a career playoff best 30. That's 63 combined points of pure offensive firepower. Problem is, basketball remains stubbornly committed to being a five-person sport. The Warriors overcame a rough shooting night for most of the game, making all of their three-pointers in the second half. But most of the game is doing some heavy lifting in that sentence. For critical stretches, the Warriors' offense looked like five guys who met in the parking lot 15 minutes before tip-off. When your shot chart looks like a cluster of blue dots huddled in the paint while the three-point line remains a barren wasteland, you basically entered what I like to call prison ball, where you're just trying to survive by getting to the rim and fighting through contact. For the Warriors to even this series, someone outside the Butler-Kuminga tandem needs to get their shots falling. Let's give credit where it's terrifyingly due. Anthony Edwards finally turned the Jets on in Game 3. When Ant starts putting together highlight reels, Minnesota becomes a completely different animal. Julius Randle put up a vintage performance with a playoff triple-double as well. The elephant in the room, or rather, the 6 feet 2 inches basketball wizard in street clothes, remains Stephen Curry. The Dubs have dropped 2 straight games without Stephen Curry after winning the series opener. That's not coincidence, it's causation. Every Warriors fan is frantically refreshing Twitter for hamstring updates. But even if Curry miraculously suits up, which seems unlikely, he'd be far from 100%. For Game 4, the Warriors need to start connecting from deep early, make the Wolves' defense stretch, and create those driving lanes for Butler and Kuminga. Jimmy Butler III and Jonathan Kuminga combined for 63 points in the Warriors' 102-97 loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves at Chase Center on Saturday. They were monstrous. Now imagine if they had any breathing room at all. This game isn't just about evening the series. It's about proving this Warriors team has the heart and grit to overcome adversity when their superstar is down. It's about Jimmy Butler justifying the midseason trade. It's about Jonathan Kuminga continuing his emergence as a force. But mostly, it's about not going down 3-1 to a Minnesota team that would love nothing more than to end Golden State's season before Steph returns. Look, the basketball gods love nothing more than a dramatic storyline. Maybe we're setting up for the Warriors to go down 3-2 before Steph returns with a robo-hamstring to save the day. Warriors need to prove they can beat Timberwolves without Stephen Curry. The Golden State Warriors will attempt to win without Stephen Curry for the first time this postseason and even their Western Conference second-round playoff series against the Minnesota Timberwolves when the clubs meet in Game 4 of the best-of-7 Monday night in San Francisco. The 7th-seeded Warriors won 99-88 on the road to open the series, but lost Curry to a strained left hamstring in the process. Minnesota, the 6th seed, has taken advantage in the 2 games since the injury, winning 117-93 at home and then 102-97 on Saturday night when the scene shifted to San Francisco. Curry already has been ruled out for Game 4 and is expected to be re-evaluated Tuesday with the hope of returning before the end of the series. The clubs have 3 days off between Game 5 on Wednesday in Minneapolis and Game 6, if necessary, next Sunday in San Francisco, making the Golden State Star more likely to reappear for the latter than the former. A Warriors win in either of the next 2 games assures that Game 6 will be played. Game 3 turned into a scoring contest between the Timberwolves' Anthony Edwards and Warriors' Jimmy Butler III and a duel of perimeter defenses. Minnesota won both. Edwards outscored Butler 36-33 as he saved 15 of his points for a brilliant third quarter. He added 13 more when he made 4 of 6 shots in the fourth period, during which Minnesota overtook the hosts with a 33-24 run. He had 3 of the visitors' 5 three-pointers in the final period, capping a long-range shooting display in which Minnesota went 13-for-34 for the game while Golden State was 10-for-23. While that was a decent percentage for the Warriors, the 23 three-point attempts were their fewest of the season and 9 fewer than they had attempted in any of their previous 9 playoff games this year. Naz Reid, 3-for-3, and Jaden McDaniels, 3-for-4, were particularly effective from deep for Minnesota, which improved to 3-1 on the road this postseason. Through 3 games, Reid leads the Timberwolves in three-pointers made, 9, and three-point shooting percentage, 50.0. He noted the narrow margin of victory Saturday and Golden State's earlier road win in the series as reasons his team can't feel comfortable heading into another game in which Curry will not be playing. "There's no sigh of relief at any point," he demanded. "This is a playoff series for a reason. Whether you're up or down, you still got to go take care of business." The Warriors got an unexpected boost in Game 3 from Jonathan Kuminga, who had played just 63 minutes in Golden State's first 8 playoff games before getting an earlier call and responding with 18 points in Game 2 at Minnesota. Kuminga then made the most of his 36 minutes Saturday, exploding for a postseason career-high 30 points. He credited Butler as being a positive role model even while Kuminga wasn't playing much if at all down the stretch of the regular season and into the playoffs. "We are all basketball players. You learn as you watch," he said. "It's me watching and learning, it makes sense playing around him. It's kind of actually easy. It's just the same way as Steph Curry, in a different way. They are two different people, but they attract so much attention that you've just got to be alert when they've got the ball." Jonathan Kuminga gets honest on playing limited minutes in Warriors-Wolves. The 2024-24 NBA season hasn't gone as Golden State Warriors forward Jonathan Kuminga planned. When the season began, there were high expectations for Kuminga to make a major leap and potentially become a max player or an NBA All-Star this season. Instead, Kuminga lost his starting spot, regained it, lost it again, and then was left out of the rotation entirely until recently. With Steph Curry injured against the Minnesota Timberwolves, Kuminga had the chance to enter to the rotation with significant minutes again, but it's not that easy. "I feel like I was just ready," Kuminga said about playing 35 minutes. "Feeling much better, just my body since I got hurt, that confidence, and just staying ready." Even without much playing time, Kuminga found a way to put up 30 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists off the bench on 61/75/83 shooting from the field. It felt like it was seamless, but it wasn't by any stretch. "It's not easy. It's very tough," Kuminga said. "I think the only thing that kept me ready was watching how we play, working out every other day and just watching film. I think that was the only preparation." Prior to getting injured in January, it looked like Kuminga was finally starting to get his rhythm back. The rising young star was injured for months before ultimately losing his spot in the rotation. "It's not easy, especially when you don't get too many opportunities to be out there. I can do all that in my workouts and stuff like that, but if you're not in the game, it's different and more serious," Kuminga said. "Just within the time, it keep getting better. Like I said, just keep gaining my confidence back." Game 4 between the Golden State Warriors and Minnesota Timberwolves is on Monday. Jonathan Kuminga destroys Jimmy Butler problem and leaves Warriors with one solution. JK was enormous despite the loss. Jonathan Kuminga delivered one of the best performances of his career on Saturday night, going for 30 points as the biggest positive from the Golden State Warriors' Game 3 loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves at Chase Center. Despite coming off the bench again, Kuminga was impressive from his opening stint and delivered an efficient two-way performance that helped silence the narrative and perceived problems surrounding him and fellow forward Jimmy Butler. Jonathan Kuminga and Jimmy Butler proved they can play effectively together. Kuminga was always set for a prominent role after a productive outing in Game 2, but that also went against Steve Kerr's comments from a month ago when he declared Kuminga, Butler, and Draymond Green didn't fit particularly well. The Butler-Kuminga dynamic specifically has been a talking point, with the young forward undoubtedly the player most negatively impacted by the All-Stars' arrival via trade in early February. Kuminga's place out of the rotation for 6 of an 8-game span was directly linked to the successful lineups and rotations the Warriors had found over Butler's time with the franchise. As a result, it felt like the 22-year-old's time in the Bay was coming to an end. How could Golden State pay Kuminga big money as a restricted free agent in the offseason if he was out of the playoff rotation, and perhaps more specifically if he couldn't play effectively alongside the team's second-best player? Not only were those questions emphatically answered with Saturday's game, but it may have left the Warriors with only one solution when it comes to their decision on Kuminga in the offseason. The forward pair combined for 63 of Golden State's 97 points in Game 3, having given life to an otherwise lackluster offense without the injured Stephen Curry. Kuminga played with the perfect balance of aggression while remaining in control. He shot an efficient 11 of 18 from the floor after going 8 of 11 in Game 2, while he only committed 2 turnovers in 36 minutes and was a team-best +5. The defense was just as impressive, particularly in the first half where Kuminga had 2 blocks as the Warriors kept the Timberwolves to just 40 points. "It's a beautiful sight to see. But like I tell everybody, me and him can thrive together," Butler said of he and Kuminga after the game. The former 7th overall pick also declared that it's actually easier to play alongside Butler, with the duo sharing a 12.5 net rating on Saturday in the 31 minutes they played together. Now the question has swung and become, how can the Warriors possibly let go of someone capable of dropping an efficient 30 in a high-stakes playoff game? Game 3 was the type of performance that could make Kuminga a lot of money, and could truly incentivize Golden State into making sure they're the team paying his next contract.